So can you tell us a little bit about the stories that you guys have been working on?
So we've worked on several stories about obviously the local community and how they are helping with solutions journalism.
What types of stories have you been working on? Can you give us some little promo of what we're going to see?
Sorry?
Can you tell us a little bit what we're about to watch?
So you're going to see a package about a local group called Bristol Together, and that will be a studio interview. It's basically a charity organisation that buy derelict houses and get former criminals to help do those up. They put all the money back into the business and help other people who have been to prison just reform their lives, which is really great.
So this is your 4th year doing the Global News Relay, is that correct?
I think it's our 2nd year, actually.
Oh, it's only your 2nd year? Why do you guys like doing it so much?
I think it's just really good experience. Everybody tries so hard. Everybody works together really well. And it's nice to actually be put on the map and do something interesting.
So going kind of back to our topic for our theme for this show, why do you think that solutions journalism and activism is so important for us millennial and the millennial generation to really start exploring and reporting on?
I think it's really important for journalists to address the issues in society and also just obviously have the local community understand in their own way, not coming from politicians. Obviously, we don't seem to be very trusted here in the UK as journalists, and I think that's something that we're really trying so hard to change.
What was your favorite part about working on these stories so far?
The finish. Yeah. So
I think feel you on that one.
All of our favorite part was just getting it over to you. We had some technical issues, but hopefully everything's sorted now. So yeah, I think the spirit behind this has been so great. Everyone's been so helpful. Everyone's got involved and did their best.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing those stories. We've been talking with Miona Mardik. Now here's UE stories based on solutions journalism.
Welcome to Bauer News. I'm James Mead.
And I'm Harley Hodges.
And making the headlines in the city today.
Solutions to Bristol's homeless problem. How people are coming together to protect the city's rough sleepers.
We find out about the Clean Up Bristol Harbour campaign, which aims to keep our water litter free.
And Rhiannon Thomas speaks to the man who founded an organisation to get ex-offenders working again. But first, according to recent government statistics, the number of homeless people in Bristol has increased by 90% in just 3 years. The British weather means many of these people often face sleeping rough in freezing conditions. But now volunteers are coming together and using innovative methods to find fresh solutions to the problem. Our reporter Helen West went to find out more.
Bristol has a homeless problem. The city has the 2nd highest levels of homelessness in the southwest of England, with at least 74 people sleeping rough last year. But local residents are working hard to help some of our most vulnerable people. Sarah Jade has set up a clothes rail to provide coats and scarves to the city's homeless. Those in need are able to help themselves to items on the rail to help keep them warm during Bristol's chilly spring months. So what gave her the idea for the project?
I was out volunteering, handing out some food on Christmas Day, just around the Bear Pit in Bristol, and got to speaking to quite a few people there about what's needed. And the first thing they said was just initial contact and acknowledgement that there's a huge homeless issue going on in Bristol. And the second one is having other access points other than shelters to get clothes and things.
The Mayor of Bristol has described homelessness in the city as a major issue. People like Sarah want to help at-risk individuals, but things haven't always gone smoothly. In fact, this is the 2nd clothes rail Sarah has set up, because the first one was stolen.
We set up one last Sunday, so it was me, my friend Rosa, my friend Mark, clubbed together, had a few coats donated to our houses. Rosa donated a rail. We decided to put it by Waterstones near the galleries because it's quite a public area, but enough space it wouldn't be getting in the way. And less than a day later it was taken. We had no idea why or who. Really upsetting, obviously, because the public had donated quite a lot to get it up and running.
The coats have all been donated by members of the public, who can drop off any spare warm clothing they have on the rail.
The public response has been brilliant. There's more people wanting to donate this time round, and now we've got it done properly, hopefully. And from what I can see, it'd be really well received. Especially the weather at the minute, it's so up and down, and it's one of the coldest springs we've had so far. But yeah, I just ideally want to break down the wall between the public and homeless and just show the homeless people that we do care, and that we recognise there's a huge problem with austerity and that it's not their fault that they're here. And it's a small gesture, and hopefully it will grow into something bigger, and we'll be able to, crack this properly. But for now, we'll just be handing out coats.
The clothes rail is just one example of Bristol people offering meaningful solutions to real problems. Helen West, Bauer News.
Bristol's iconic floating harbour has long been at the centre of life in the city, but sadly it is now plagued by litter and pollution. A recent study by academics and students here at UWE found drugs such as paracetamol and caffeine contaminating the water, and the litter on the surface is all too clear to see.
But what's being done about the problem? I went out onto the water to find out more. Litter, litter, everywhere. For a city that was awarded Green Capital status just 2 years ago, it seems some Bristolians aren't doing their bit to uphold the prestigious title. Yet one woman's initiative is enabling residents to have some fun and help keep the water safe and litter-free.
So my name is Chloe, and I organise Clean Up Bristol Harbour, which is a monthly gathering of volunteers to come and pick up the floating litter around Bristol Harbour. As a hobby, I row, and one day at peak tide, I remember coxing and going along the river and being appalled by the amount of rubbish that we were going through. We could barely go through the amount of rubbish that was just laying around. I was a bit shocked, actually.
Each volunteer was given a litter picker to gather any rubbish they could find in Bristol's floating harbour. The group meet up once a month to take to the water and help keep Bristol beautiful while socialising and generally having a good time. All volunteers gathered at 10 a.m. to get instructions, including a briefing from Avon and Somerset Police to ensure everybody stayed safe on the water. Most opted to use boats supplied by the organisers, but some chose to bring their own watercraft to support the cause. Chloe works in conjunction with Bristol City Council, who also drive the boats, some of which are specifically designed to collect rubbish. Although believing it to be a great initiative, one council worker isn't happy with our habits as consumers.
We're using more disposable plastics than we've ever used, and even though Bristol's a good recycling city, we're still not doing enough. If we were, it wouldn't be ending up in the harbour. And there's an awful lot more that we could do as a city. Lots of other cities in the UK and in Europe have done a lot more than we're doing currently, but I think that we are heading in the right direction. I think it's becoming an issue that people find becoming more passionate about, and people higher up are taking steps to go in the right direction with it. It's going to become an increasingly larger problem.
Harley Hodges, Bauer News. Artists in Bristol are facing a hard time as government cut means a third of the arts budget for the city will be axed. Coexist is a social enterprise operating from Hamilton House, looking at solutions to this problem. They've thought of creative ways to tackle the issue and are trying to buy out their landlords, Connolly and Callaghan, in what could be the biggest social enterprise buyout in recent UK history. Management of the cooperative have branded the cost obscene.
Now, a criminal record can be a huge obstacle to securing employment, but local group Bristol Together is helping those who have previously offended to work again. Rhiannon Thomas is joined now by Paul Harrod, the founder of the organisation. Rhiannon?
I'm joined today by Paul Harrod, founder of Bristol Together. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Could you tell us a bit about what the charity does?
We create full-time employment for ex-offenders by bringing empty properties back into use and also building new homes.
Wonderful. And how difficult is it for people who have been in prison to find a job afterwards?
It can be very difficult. Depends on the nature of the past offence, but certainly violent offenders or repeat offenders, they have to declare those offences on their employment records. They can be pretty much permanently excluded from the job market. So we try and change that by actually creating full-time living wage jobs for people who learn all aspects of the building trade, whilst bringing homes back into use and actually currently building some new houses as well.
How successful has the scheme been?
So far so good. We've got a project here in Bristol which has been going for nearly 5 years, but also one in Birmingham, one in Glasgow as well. We're looking to set up in other cities as well. So there's a lot of interest really. I think a kind of job creation model is often a missing piece for those who are trying to support and rehabilitate ex-prisoners.
And how many people have you reached through this?
Nearly 100 to date. Most of them are here in Bristol, but also I said in Birmingham and Glasgow too. But these are kind of quite long-term interventions. I mean, some employees will be with us for perhaps a handful of months, but many of them, it'll take a year, 2 years to really learn all the skills to move on. So we regard this as being a kind of a relatively sort of small number of people, but quite a deep, long-lasting intervention.
Is there any individual cases where you think this has really helped?
Well, I think every individual has their own story to tell. I can probably think of one person, actually one of our very first employees, who when he came was just lacking in all self-confidence. Sometimes the stereotype of the ex-offenders, the kind of angry young man, but often they are quite lost, lacking in self-esteem. He'd been really sort of almost traumatised by a time in prison. But actually, since he started working with us, he got more confidence, learnt some skills, became actually a very talented plasterer. And so in the last year or so, he still works for us, but increasingly he's now doing self-employed contracts, partnering with someone else to work as a team. So we've really seen a real transformation in him, his attitudes, outlook on life, and his hopes for the future. We've seen the reoffending rates drop almost to zero, which we're not surprised about because employees are with us on a full-time basis. They've got a job, and actually it's the structure of work. Being 8:30 in the morning till 4:30 at night, Monday to Friday. So we're not surprised to see the reoffending rate drop, and the cost to society as a whole is huge. I mean, it's estimated that up to half of all people will reoffend again. So actually, if you can prevent someone from reoffending by giving them an alternative career path, it can be not only good for them and the community.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Back to you in the studio.
Now, James, tell me, who let the dogs out?
Well, Harley, UWE did. As part of UWE's puppy petting days, we invited the Guide Dogs Association down to campus to promote student well-being and raise money for a good cause.
It was a day filled with lots of stroking and belly rubs for some Labradors. The Guide Dogs Association and the University of West of England held an event at the Students' Union to raise money for guide dogs across Bristol. Students donated £2 to go towards the charity and could spend 15 minutes with the dogs. In the past, UWE has held pet a dog events to promote student well-being. As universities can be a stressful environment, this idea seems to be quite popular. Ahmed Imara, the president of the Student Union, believes that dogs and students can be mutually beneficial.
We try to bring more dogs on campus for students to spend some lovely time with dogs and to relieve their stress, and also raise money for charity as well. So we're trying to make some fun activities.
The money raised at the event goes towards the charity and is used to maintain the upkeep of guide dogs, which can be very expensive. The charity is responsible for around 8,000 dogs at any one time. The community fundraiser for the organisation had more to say.
My name is Catherine Rod and I'm a community fundraising development officer for guide dogs. It's really important for guide dogs to spread awareness of what we do. We currently look at about 5,000 guide dog owners on the streets today. We support each one at about £50,000 per dog, and we receive very little government funding for that. So we rely on events like this to spread awareness of what we do, tell people how they can get involved and get some more support.
The whole day featured volunteers explaining to students about the canines and how the association is useful. As well as puppies, we met with retired ambassador dogs.
My name is Julie, and I'm here supporting guide dogs from Western as an ambassador. That's what we call a withdrawn guide dog. So I like to explain that as a silent leading dog to do the job. Bristol as an ambassador for fundraising, and as you can see, he enjoys it as much as I do. So as long as he enjoys doing it, I don't mind doing it either.
Didi Onwu, Bauer News.
And finally, James, where do you think is the best city to live in the UK?
I don't know. Oxford, London, Edinburgh?
Not this time. It's of course Bristol. That's according to the Sunday Times, which has announced that Bristol is officially the best UK city to live in this year.
Well, that's all from us here in sunny Bristol. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh my gosh, those dogs. I would be there all the time.
Oh, I know.
Cute
Anything,
little puppy dogs.
Anything that's going to help support dogs, I definitely am for. And because we are the Fresno State Bulldogs, so
Go dogs.
Go dogs. Coming up next on the Global News Relay, building a community to help those in need, an initiative bringing together families with special needs children.
And a search for compassion. Journalism students in Bulgaria tell us how refugee camps are only causing more problems for people from Syria seeking safety.
Plus the impact that women have in Egypt on the Egyptian economy when we return.